Beautiful souls, do you have a prayer request or want us to send you healing energy today? Would you like us to be praying for your friend or loved one? If this is you, go to worldslargestprayernetwork.com to submit your prayer request. And while you're there, please sign up to join our team of prayer warriors. The angels say prayer not only opens you to miracles, raises your vibration, and helps you heal, but the more you pray, the more God's presence is felt on earth. Feel your angels' love as they surround you right now, and listen for the positive, loving messages your angels intended specifically for you in today's episode. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the Angels and Awakening podcast. I'm your host and author, Julie Jancius, and today we have some very, very special, heartfelt angel messages from Nicole. I'm so excited to have you on, Nicole. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So I'm going to have you take it away and share your stories.
Sure. So I have two. I'll start with the one that's the oldest and then go to the one that's the newest. It's one story in particular is my grandfather. He passed away in 2006, and he had Alzheimer's, and he died sitting right next to my grandmother in the nursing home. And we had a huge funeral and everything, and a luncheon afterwards. And then a little bit later, I think it's about a week or so, I was taking a nap in my brother's bedroom. 2006, I was in middle school, I think like sixth grade. So I was sleeping, it was the middle of the day, and all of a sudden I wake up and I feel like someone's petting my hair, and there's no one else in the room. And I look, like, open up my eyes, and it looks like my grandfather, and he's just petting my hair, and then he's like gone in a second. And the room, I felt so calm, so at ease. The room smelled like flowers. And I like ran downstairs to my mom, and I was like, I think grandpa was just petting my hair. And she was like, he probably just came to say goodbye, because I'm the only girl and all boys. So I think he liked that I was the only girl. So that's one thing where I think he was comforting me, because it was a hard loss. It's the first time I've ever experienced that. And then my father passed away in September I have a picture of him right here, which is why I keep looking there.
That's beautiful.
He passed away in September of this year, and he had Parkinsonian dementia. He was a neurosurgeon for many years, and he was the kindest, nicest person. He was known to his fellow patients and surgeons at the hospital as hands of God, because he saved so many lives, and he would help people. And if they couldn't even pay him, he'd be like, that's okay, I'll do it anyways. And I'll do the surgery and you won't get a bill from me. That's just like who he was at his core. And a week before he died, he fell multiple times. And each time he fell, he hit his head harder and harder. And then that whole week, he kind of just laid in bed and couldn't talk, couldn't speak, wasn't really eating, and, was slowly passing away. And so my boyfriend actually, I came back from my boyfriend's, and I was going to stay. My parents live in the burbs, as I mentioned, and I was going to come back to my apartment, so it's easier to work from here when you're all alone versus at home with the dog. And I ended up staying longer, but I had a photo shoot for a client that I work for. And it was a Thursday, Friday shoot. I was really hesitant to go because I didn't want to leave my dad's side. My coworkers knew that during this time, anytime the nurse came or a priest came or anyone that would help him, I would drop what I'm doing and go be with my mom and him and whoever came. And so I was hesitant to go to this photo shoot. I ended up going anyways because it would be easier on the clients. On me, doing everything virtual sometimes is really hard when you're trying to style products. So I came back to my apartment, which I actually just moved into in the beginning of the month. And these were the first 2 nights I would spend in my apartment because I was away at my boyfriend's, and then my dad got sick, and then I haven't been here.
Yeah.
So I spent these 2 nights in this apartment, closed out the photo shoot on a Friday night, and I called my mom saying, I'll come home right now. Do you want me to come home? And she goes, no, like you've had a long week. You've been at these shoots from 8 to 6. Just relax. Come home Saturday morning and just take a breather, order pizza, and hang out. So I did. And funny enough, I watched Father of the Bride for some reason. I've never seen that movie. I felt like I was called to watch it. So I watched it. I was crying because I was thinking about him and if I ever get married and how he wouldn't be there. And then I went to bed and I wake up right at 2 o'clock in the morning. Like there was no sound, there was no noise. I'm wide awake. And then I fall back asleep and I have a dream. And all of a sudden, I'm standing in my bedroom, which faces the front door, and my father walks in, 20 years younger. He looks like he just came home from the hospital. He has a nice pair of slacks, like a cashmere sweater on. He had these glasses that were frameless, and he walked right into my living room kitchen, which I'm sitting in now. And of course, I follow him because I'm like, "What is that?" So I follow him into my living room, and he walks to where I'm sitting is at my desk, and it faces out looking at Lake Michigan. He bends, looks out the window. He turns around and looks at me and says, "Very nice." And I said, "Thank you." And then I woke up the next morning. I woke up immediately right after that. And that's when I got the phone calls from my mom that my dad passed away. And I think he came to say goodbye to me because he knew I wanted to be there. And I think he was also saying, I'll be watching over you because he's never been into this apartment. No one's been here. This was like the first 2 nights I've stayed here. So I think it was kind of crazy that he walked in here and kind of blessed it to me and kind of like said, I'll be watching you. And it just when I'm here, I just like get sad when I think about it. And I have his picture sitting right here. Grab it. I have his picture sitting right here where he I don't know if you can see it, where he stood just to like remember him.
Yeah.
So that was my story.
First, Nicole, I'm so sorry for your loss. I'm so sorry that you had to go through that so young. And when it comes to it, your dad keeps repeating on like overdrive, like he's trying to help you build that connection with him and that relationship with him from the other side because they're not gone, right? They are still right here. And he loves you so incredibly much. And he said that that kind heart that you were talking about him having, where he would just work on anybody who needed it. He said it's the same heart that you have. And a lot of times when they bring through something like watch this movie, I think it would be so fascinating. I would love to, if anybody knows any like Hollywood writers, script writers, I want to talk to them. I want to know what it's like to be in those rooms because there is an overwhelming presence of angels every single time I tune into the energy of those writers, where they're bringing through messages for the collective all the time. And not just them, but artists who are bringing through music for everybody to listen to. And so your dad really keeps talking about when you hear, watch this movie or read this book or take a look at this photo album at this time, it's him trying to connect with your energy and be present with you and be close to you. He keeps showing me this vision too of you and him watching TV together when you were
Yes.
younger. And I feel like you would just go over and like curl into the little nook between his arm was around you and just kind of like lay your head down on his chest.
There's a photo actually I was looking at before I got on this call of him and I when I was a baby, and I think we were in London, and I'm curled up into him,
Yeah.
and he's just like holding me. Um, I think I kind of not forgot to mention, but it just reminded me when you mentioned these messages. My father never met my current boyfriend, and in my mind, I think he brought him to me kind of for this, or my grandmother or someone brought him because I don't know how I could have gone through this period without him. And the weird thing is, during when I woke up at 2 a.m. during my angel story, my boyfriend Adam woke up also at 2 a.m., which I
Wow.
thought was very odd because he lives all the way in Indianapolis. He wasn't in the same room as me. And I remember him specifically telling me that morning. He's like, at 2 a.m. I was wide awake, but there was no sounds outside, but I was just like up for some reason. And I think that was him.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever talked about this on the podcast. Um, but when somebody very close in my family passed away, I had a visitation dream, and we were at a wedding, and my family member on the other side was dressed up in a tux, and he was right next to another gentleman that I had never seen before. And the person from the family who was still living here on earth, who really needed to connect with this loved one on the other side, um this was her future partner that this person was showing me. And I saw the face, I saw what they looked like, I saw everything. And then when this person came to me and said, I met this person, Julie, what do you think? And I was like, I saw this in a dream. And
Wow.
and so your dad said to share that with you specifically, Nicole, because that does happen. When somebody goes to the other side and they're a part of our spirit team, oftentimes they'll say, I'm not going to let you go your entire life without the person you're supposed to be with. And and so just know that this relationship is divinely guided, and that your dad did bring it in to you. And they said, and I've never seen this before, but he said sometimes you can work it where the person on earth who needs the relationship at that time gets the relationship that is for the duration of their entire lifetime. And then that support comes in just exactly when they need it. Because I feel like some people question, well, is this just a relationship like for this time? Is this relationship for the span of my entire lifetime? And your dad said for you, like, this is it.
And it's funny you mention that because we met on an app and he would constantly like my photos and I would never let it go anywhere. And then finally back in March, I let him take me on a date and then it just progressed perfectly at the right time, exact right time. And it just, I wholeheartedly believe that. So thank you.
Yeah. So now what your dad's trying to teach you is trying to like dive in to listen to those signals, dive in to listen to that intuition. And what I want to encourage you to do in 2023, like you personally, and if this resonates to anybody listening, do this too. I want you to keep an intuition journal by your bedside. And I want you to record the signs, the symbols, the aha moments, the dreams, that you're getting this knowingness of, or that your dad's bringing through, or just any connection with your dad. Hey, felt like I was supposed to watch Father of the Bride, watched it, really felt dad's presence. Doesn't have to be long, but just to record it, because your dad said that our memory isn't that great. Like, and if you were to record it in a journal like this, you could look at after an entire year at the journal and be like, oh my gosh, it's not just one sign here or there. Like, I've got an entire notebook filled with signs. And your dad is so special. I've never seen this before either, but he said, then when you feel those down days, when you're just really missing him and those huge waves of grief come back, always comes back unexpectedly.
Yeah.
You can go to that notebook and flip through, and it's by flipping through the culmination of all these different signs and symbols he sent your way that you can really tune into his presence and feel his presence even so much more.
That's great. I mean, I've been thinking about writing down that angel story for a long time. So I don't want to forget it. So I play it probably in my mind once a week. So Honey, I should write it down. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. He's right. You guys are both right.
Yeah. Keep a notebook of all those signs and symbols. I
I
love
have to
it.
go shopping. Thanks, Jen.
Yes. Yes. I don't know if you guys like haven't talked about marriage yet, but your dad comes through showing me your wedding day one day, and he said, um, well, first he keeps showing me like he's very, very clear. I don't know if you want an outdoor wedding, but I keep seeing more like summer, spring day, and it's just gorgeous outside, right? Like very few clouds, sun is just shining, beautiful temperature, which I know you're in Chicagoland. It's very hard to get in
I
Chicagoland.
mean, today it's great though.
Yes.
But it's funny you mention that because I'm going to three weddings in the next 2 weekends, and every time I go to these weddings, I start crying because the father walks the daughter down the aisle, he gives a speech, they have a dance, and I always just think about him not being at mine. And I've thought about my wedding. I feel like every girl has, and I always picture having my immediate family in the first row, and then another chair with a photo of him on it, just so
Yes.
I can have him not, even though he's not physically there, I'm sure he'll definitely be there.
You're going to weave his presence in to every aspect
Hmm.
of that wedding. Um, I can see all different things. I can see what you're saying with the chair in the photo, but it's also you walking down the aisle, and I feel like you're something old is from him, maybe
Hmm.
even tied into your dress. I feel like when you're saying something, afterwards at the reception, or your husband is like kind of mentioning him and just having everybody tune into his presence, and just that gratitude for him and everything that he brought into your life. And then also, like, I see a candle and his picture still at your reception. And he said that there is a family member who I do see stepping in to take that first dance. And he said, I want you to dance, even if it's with your mom,
I think he's
that
probably
first
picturing my
dance.
brother.
Yeah, yeah, perfect. But he said he still wants you to do the first dance.
That's good. Okay, I will. I will.
When it comes to your dad, too, he says that we need to talk about your mom for a second, because she's been really struggling. And do you have a sister as well?
I have a half sister.
Okay. Where does that half come in?
My dad he's 100% Sri Lankan, and he had an arranged marriage. And so we had two kids with his first wife, and she unfortunately passed away from breast cancer before he met my mom. And he has I have an older half brother and older half sister, and they live in California. And the backstory is they kind of haven't talked to my father in 10 years. So I think she's struggling with what you're saying is because she hasn't been around and didn't really form a relationship with him.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom is struggling a lot because he had Parkinsonian dementia, and she took care of him every day since 2014, 2015. And I think it's the loss of not having that purpose, and then missing a partner, and then not really having many people to do things with, because she would take him everywhere, to church, to the grocery store, just to sit in the car because he couldn't walk after a period of time. And she kind of misses having another, she was a dog, but another person.
Yeah. And she's young.
Yeah, she's like 65, 64.
Mm-hmm. She's got a long life here. And a lot of times people are feeling very big energies, but they don't know how to describe it, and they don't know how to work with it exactly. And so what your mom is feeling into, if a person's 65 and they're going to be here, until they're 100 years old, 35 years, that's an entire lifetime in and of itself.
It is.
And there's different waves of energy that she's processing, and she's not ready to fully step into her future energies. She's still processing his passing. She's still processing her grief, and that's okay. We have to give her time and her space to be where she's at. But your dad said there's going to come a time. This is a bad example, but just flow with me here. Okay. You know how when you get sick sometimes, or you have a cold or the flu, and it may start out with this just feeling like, gosh, something's not right in my body. Like I feel off. And then you get sick and you're sick for, I don't know, a couple days or a couple weeks. And then there's a day where you wake up and you're like going about your day and it hits you. Oh, I'm not sick anymore. Like I feel really good. When that happens, it also happens a similar way with grief, where you go through the grief process and you wake up one day and you're like, wow, the big, huge tidal wave of grief, it isn't with me anymore. Not that we don't feel sad, not that we don't still miss that person. We do. But we've come back more so into the natural energies of our everyday instead of being in the huge tidal wave energy of grief. And your dad said when she gets to that point, she'll be ready to open up her heart, but she's just not now. He keeps trying to get to that he's got somebody for her, that he wants to be a companion. He's also bringing in really deep, close friendships for her. I see her traveling with different people, traveling with you, and all of it is going to comfort her, surround her, lift her. He said you just have to give her more time, and he really talks about prayer too.
She goes to church every day. The day he died, she was like, I don't want to do anything. I want to go to, the day he died was actually a beautiful day. Not too cold, not too hot, beautiful sky, sunny, and we went for a long walk. And then she went to church and sat at church. And she's a big believer in prayer and God. And even she would bring him to church and he would sit there too. And she's very, very religious. Actually, for Christmas, I just got her a cross with my dad's name on it from Germany. That's all glass. And I was like, I think she'll love this.
Yeah. 100%. She prays a lot for him and he still prays. Sometimes they show me this from your spirit team. They'll pray for you from the other side, and he prays for everybody who's still here. Part of that prayer is also just directing energies as part of your spirit team. But he wants you to know that she's going to be okay. And he thanks you for helping her flow through this process of grief and of his loss. When it comes to your sister, he's very, very clear. Keep the doorway open between you and her, because there's going to become a closeness in the future between the two of you. And part of a person's self-identity oftentimes is their family. That could be the family that brought them up or the family that they have blood ties to. But there's part of her self-identity that she doesn't have pieced together wholly, and she needs some of the missing puzzle pieces that only you have in order to, I don't want to say feel whole and complete herself, but that's the best I can get to what he's trying to communicate. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't know she would be coming to the funeral. It was kind of a surprise last minute. We didn't think she would show up, and we're happy she did. And after, we just there was some hostility, and we just kind of said, let's let bygones be bygones. Whatever happened, it's in the past, and we'll just move forward.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
What we want to do. Yeah. Yeah. That's like so perfect.
Yay. Nicole, thank you so much for being here and for sharing this time and space with me. And I'm so sorry for the loss of your dad. And He asked a couple of times, and I'm so sorry to all the listeners that I haven't remembered to do this throughout the year. But last year we were praying a lot at the end of the episodes, and he asked if we could do that today in today's episode. So let's just kind of say a little prayer right here, right now. And I'm just going to let him direct this. But we can all say, Dear God, Universe Source, please surround all people who are going through a challenge within their life, helping somebody transition to the other side, or who are going through the big tidal waves of grief themselves here in this life. God, please surround all of these people here on earth with the angels that they need to help them through, to support them. And your dad says for everybody to pray, Dear God, please let those who have lost somebody, who are still working through that loss, or who really want to form a deep connection, bond, relationship with their loved one on the other side, God, please help them to be able to form that relationship with ease. Bring them to the right tools that they need. Bring them to the right teachers that they need. And God, please allow everybody who's listening, who we're praying for, to feel within their physical body the presence of the loved one that they've lost. And just know like they know within themselves that they haven't lost them. That energy of the person they love and care for has just transitioned to a different space. And please allow them to know very deeply that that energy is never going to leave them, but will always, always be with them, guiding them, directing them, protecting them. In this we pray, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you, Julie.
You're so welcome. Yes, all my love to you, friend.
Thank you, and amazing podcast, and thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you, you too. Beautiful soul, thank you so much for joining me today. My name's Julie. You know I'm all about connecting you with messages from your angels and loved ones on the other side. If you've been listening today and you're super excited and just have to know which angels are around you right now, who's connecting with you, and what messages they have for you, go to theangelmedium.com. Register for a session. You can do a reading with me or a member of my team, and we can help you in making sure that your angels are doing the very best they can to support you and guide you to your best life. If this sounds like you, virtual sessions, they're only offered on my website. Sign up today. And if you're the person who's really excited, you can sign up for my Angel Reiki School to become a certified angel messenger. That's for the healers among us who feel called to grow their intuition to the max and serve humanity with their gifts. You'll learn Reiki, mediumship, how to deliver angel messages, and how to get clients. That's the Angel Reiki School at theangelmedium.com, or DM me on Instagram at Angel Podcast with any questions. Before you go, connect with your angels by placing your hands on your heart. Take a deep breath. Imagine a doorway filled with God's unconditional love is right in front of you. Step into that love and feel it as it fills your body, chakras, and auric field. Now ask your angels, What would you have me know today? And open yourself to the positive, loving messages they have just for you.